Hello friends and family, I hope you are well. In this video, I am going to show you how I install my box braids and also keep my edges protected. As usual, I am doing my 2 lines on each side of my head so that I can braid the cornrows or the front edges to protect my braids. I already started doing the braids and I just wanted to show you how I do it. I usually don't like very bulky box braids because they're heavy. Even when you use a light hairpiece, it still ends up feeling heavy for me. So I make it light. I just make sure that the lines are covered by the time I'm done, that you don't see the lines at the back. And the braids are nice and big, and I still get a lot of growth from doing this kind of hairstyle. So here you see me making the lines. I usually keep it as simple as I can and do, one long line across, and then I divide it up into smaller squares to do the braids. And that's how I usually do my box braids. I don't do the shell type of lines where it looks like seashells. Those are pretty, but it's difficult when you're doing it yourself to make those lines look clean and crisp. So this is the easiest way that I do it. And then I use, as you saw, that rat tail comb that has a metal tail so that the lines are a little bit smoother. I am in a rush, so I'm not really taking my time to make the lines as smooth as I usually do. And you see my comb that I use is very wide-toothed because I just want to plainly detangle the hair and then braid. This is the length that I want to achieve, so I make sure that I make the measurement, before I actually install the braid. So here I am about to put in that braid. Now I hold my hair and then I twist the hairpiece around it twice, and then I start the braid, as you see. For me, that anchors the braid better than just starting braiding in threes immediately. I prefer to anchor the root before I actually do the braid. So I'm going to do this several more times for you to see. I also stagger the hairpiece so that the end is not abrupt, because I like the end to be tapered like natural hair would. So you will see me staggering the hairpiece and then combing it with a brush to make sure that the tangles are out of it before I install the next braid. And again, for every single braid, I measure the length to make sure that it is close to the length that I need it to be, because if you don't do that, then some of them are longer, some of them are shorter, and then you have to trim the hair. And when you trim it, some of the hairs are abrupt at the end and some are not. So that's how I do it. I am pretty quick with the braids because there's really not much to it. And I had wanted a whole head of, I think color 30 hair pieces, but I realized when I was braiding it that because my own hair is long, it makes it look a little speckled, if that's the word I can use. So I didn't achieve what I wanted. The ends are the color that I want, but that's okay. It is what it is. So as you can see, I am about to stagger the braid again. And I also did the pulling where you hold a bunch of the braid and you pull little bits and pieces so that you get the ends just like this, as you can see it. Before I even stagger it, I make sure that I do that, and then I stagger it also to get the very tapered ends that I like. Now I'm about to do the back of my crown, which is really difficult for me to get to. A lot of people ask me how I get there to do the braid, and you're about to see. So I am finger detangling the hair right now, and then here I go. Had to adjust the camera so that you can see what I'm about to do. Hopefully I can capture everything in the video frame for you. So it's the same process. I hold the hair at the base and then I wrap the hairpiece around it 2 times if I could get the other stuff out of my way. So I wrap it around 2 times and then I start the 3-strand braid. I have this pet peeve where I want the braid to sit in the middle of the square. You know what I mean? Or the rectangle or whatever lines that I make. And if it doesn't, it really, really, really irritates me. If I had seen this video at the time that I was braiding the hair and I realized that the braid was not in the center of the square, I would have unraveled it and done it all over again. So that sometimes, you know, makes me take a little bit longer than I need to because I am slightly OCD like that. So that's that braid that I just did. Now these braids look a little bit stiff, you know, they're sort of sticking out a little bit at the base, and that's because I haven't put them in hot water yet. And once I put them in hot water, then they're going to relax a little bit more. The hairs at my crown, I make smaller braids there because my crown is delicate and sensitive to breakage. It is very prone to breakage, so I make sure that I do the braids there a little bit smaller so I don't pull as much. And here you see the cornrows at the side. This is the style I always do with my hair to preserve my edges because my edges are very, 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 very flimsy and delicate. I mean, you sneeze at them and they break. So that's why I do these kinds of braids. And I wanted to show you that even with individual braids, it's sort of a mohawk kind of look, sort of, but you can still, you know, wear it and make it look as, it will look as if the sides have individual braids as well, but then they're not, they're cornrowed. So when you cover it with the individual braids, it looks like it's all the way through individual braids on the side, but they're not. So I did that other side already. I wanted to show you how I do the cornrows on this side, especially with the very, very, very short edges that I have. It's difficult, so I have to use that comb to keep the hairs away from the braid so that when I'm braiding, those hairs don't come and join the braid and make the line look jagged and unkempt and nasty. So you see the breakage, like, ugh, it's terrible. But at least there's still some hair left there to hold to do the cornrows. So I take my time. I do it very gently and try to grab each strand of hair that I can so that the cornrow will lay flat and not have a gap, you know, under it for where there's no strand, for where the hairs are short. So, and I also braid as close to my edge as I can. I don't hold it tightly, even though it looks like I may be holding it tightly. I don't, because I don't want to pull the little bit of hair that I have left. So this is how I braid the edge of my hair when the braid is actually going to be exposed. If it were not going to be exposed, I would not have been that, you know, precautious doing that braid. So I'm almost done. I think this maybe is this the last braid. I think so. And then we're going to get the hair into the hot water. Now, as you can see, I used the hot water kettle and then I poured it into I poured the water into a long container that can hold the long braids and not bunch them up too much when I put the braids in there. So you're going to see how I do it. I take sections at a time, and the ones that I'm not about to put in there, the ones I'm not about to put in the hot water, I tie away from the hot water because, again, this water is scalding hot. So you have to be very careful. If there are any braids that are unraveling, I fix that before I put it in. And I dip the ends in first to make sure that they are straight. I dip them in about 3 times before I dip the rest of the braid into the hot water. So you can see that I've tied the rest of the hair away so that they're not in my way. And I try to get every strand in there that I can. I have the towel right there in the lower left of the screen, if you can see. And I'm going to get the towel in a moment and pull out the braids and make sure that they land on the towel, because if that water drips on you, it will burn, baby, burn. So that's how I do it, and then I wrap the hair in the towel to get the excess water off. Now you want to make sure that if there are any ends that crinkled a little bit, you dip them again, just the ends, whichever parts that didn't, you know, straighten when you dipped it in the hot water. So this is the finished product. I like it a lot. I don't like bulky hair, as you know, so, and I like the ends just like this. They are very, very tapered. I will trim them just a little bit so that I don't have tiny little strands all over the place. But yeah, this is the exact style that I was going for, and I like the way it looks at the back. You don't see the lines as much, and I'm making sure that that's the case. As long as you have the hairs lying in the right place, you'll be fine. And because this is freshly braided, of course, it's not lying as flat as I want it to, but the lines are definitely covered, and I love the color. So yes, I'm gonna trim the very, very, very tiny ends, and then I will be all set. So this is the hairstyle that I was going for, and as you can see, I am admiring it because it turned out exactly how I wanted it. And it's very versatile. You can, you know, do ponytails with it. You can, you know, swag it in the front a little bit and then do a bun at the top. But right now I'm tired, so I'm not doing any of that. I'm going to bed. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great, great, great day. Love you very much. Please comment, rate, and subscribe.